the foundation models are advancing super rapidly. One thing that people ask is, do you fine tune or train models? And, we don't, and we don't recommend any manufacturer does this, because the core models themselves are evolving so quickly. They're retraining their weights with the data they have. So if you retrain the weights of, say you were stuck on Sonnet and it's now moved to Opus and now Mythos, like your model is just so inferior, you got to throw it all away and start over again. So now, why is that? What has evolved from model to model? So, in the Sonnet days, we're talking about the Anthropic family in this case, but Gemini and OpenAI, they've all got similar models that are evolving through these generations. So Sonnet was incredible at understanding intent and being able to, obviously everybody knows they can, write poems and understand, read a book and summarize it for you, that sort of thing, right? So it could understand data, it was pre-trained, it could think like a human already. It's already a thinking model. The thing that changed from my perspective in manufacturing, when we went from the Sonnet to the Opus class, is the AI coding. Like what happened with Claude Code, and that it can actually understand human language in, English, Spanish, etc., but also understand computer language and code in entirely the same frame, is that you could solve problems that have to cross those two domains. So if you think about the factory, my favorite example is quality analyst. Quality needs to think in terms of, here's a defect and the customer sent it back. Here's a return. Here's, somebody did a teardown and wrote that this is what happened. That's in language. But now I need to go back through all these test machines, and I want to use the coding side of Opus to actually write queries into a database to pick specific pieces of data. So imagine you're an amazing data scientist times quality person who understood the product and what the customer was angry about, why it got returned or why the defect failed on the machine, but could literally write all the queries. Imagine being on their shoulder and they're writing query. Oh, graph. Oh, no, here's where the product failed. This is why it failed at the end of the day. This is why it was returned. So that Sonnet to Opus, the AI coding, is one of the biggest transformations that people still don't realize how powerful it is. It really transformed very deep things, and it justifies building these larger data ontologies and data graphs that might be several levels deep, because Opus by itself can decide to write queries and code down through it to pull the data frames up into solving a complex problem. Now, Fable, the new Mythos class, is just out. It's just out, and I think there's a lot more to figure out about why it's so good. In the news, it was all like, oh, it's cracking cybersecurity problems. It's going to be really dangerous. But as it relates in manufacturing, I mean, the thing that is interesting so far, I don't know if you share this, we've shared this video out in a month, 2 months, I'm sure it'll already be evolved and changed, but it has a lot to do with longer running autonomous workflows. And again, with coding, being able to do these complex thinking and coding analysis, but in a long running frame. So that's what we're starting to think about next. What changes even further? Because you could, so that quality example, it's like, okay, a defect already happened. I want you to root cause it right now. The software is going to run for 10 seconds and check a whole bunch of things super fast, but that stuff already happened. What about a long running agentic work frame that could run over minutes, hours, a whole day and keep analyzing things as they're happening? Check back in and we'll have something to say. But I guess what I would say is, even before Mythos, you go back to Opus, very few manufacturers are yet taking advantage of that, much less, thinking about what the long running agents of Mythos are going to do, which are going to get you closer to autonomy, an agent that keeps active throughout the whole day. Very few are using the amazing power of this root causing and what it can do with your data. Where most manufacturers are is needing to nail that data foundation so that they can in fact take advantage of how good these AI models are.